welcome to Build Brunch, the daily morning show where we talk about the latest topics in pop culture. I'm Brittany Jones-Cooper.
I'm Shannon Coffey.
I'm Allie Colbert.
And I'm Lucas Tim. Hi, everyone.
Monday!
Today we're going to talk about whether Angelina Jolie may soon try to add Madam President to her resume, what an LGBTQ inclusive sex education would have taught you, and why Dictionary.com wants you to start polishing your vocabulary. Plus, Deadliest Catch stars Sig Hansen and Jake Anderson join the table. But first,
guys, it's time for our In Case You Missed It by HuffPost segment. Millennials are flipping the script on marriage yet again, with more and more couples entering holy matrimony with a little more protection thanks to a spike in prenups. Here to talk about the latest trend is host of In Case You Missed It by HuffPost, Heather Gardner.
Hey
Welcome,
guys.
Heather.
Oh, thank you. Happy Monday.
So let's talk about these prenups because I have not had this conversation a lot with my friends, but it's a growing trend.
Yeah, it is. 62% of divorce lawyers have just cited this uptick in millennials who are requesting divorces. Excuse me. Prenups before the divorce.
You're some smart lawyers.
Yeah, right? Before you even get married, we're going to get divorced, right? Yeah, so more millennials are just entering into marriage with more protection, like you said.
And why? Are people making more money now? What's the deal?
Yeah, so we've known this before, like people are waiting longer and longer to get married. I think the average right now for women is 27 and the average age for men is 29. And yeah, they're making money in between that time, you know, when they're not getting married, and so they have a lot more to protect when they enter their marriage.
I do love that because it looks like women are the ones asking for prenups a little more. We know women are making more and more money, and you know what, they want to protect it, and I don't blame them.
I mean, what's the Kanye song? We want prenup,
Yeah.
right?
But actually, I think that had like a big influence on us. Like, if you guys were at bar mitzvah saying, we want prenups, we want prenups. I was 13 years old chanting that. Like, I don't know what that is, but I want it. Woo! I think that actually has had a big influence on us.
It does, yeah. I mean, the idea here, especially for women, I mean, we're entrepreneurs now, and especially looking back at previous generations, women just have taken control of a lot of aspects of their life, including their career, including their money, including other things like their businesses. And it's not just like income either. We're talking about properties that people may own, talking about student debt that people may own. We're talking about a lot of different things. And I think millennials are just going into marriage a little bit differently than our parents.
And I mean, I think we can all agree it's a scary time to be a man.
Oh yeah, it's a really bad time for men out there.
Well, you know, not that it's a scary thing. I think this is a very empowering thing. But you know, the traditional family has flipped, and now women are out earning men in their own marriages. So yeah, we want prenups.
Wow.
Yeah.
We want prenups.
Yeah.
I was actually I was talking
know the
about
whole
this
thing.
with my husband, and I was like, so can we get like a post nump? Because you know, not to throw him under the bus, but I just make a little bit more money than he does. So I might want a little
Sugar
protection.
mama.
Yeah.
I really hope he's not watching.
Oh, he's watching. He's laughing right now.
Okay, good. I was like, oh, I feel bad for
We
you.
have a great relationship.
Okay.
Obviously.
Well, there seems to be a shedding of a stigma around prenups, because I remember being like when my parents got divorced. I think we've seen divorce rates are still high. We've seen the public and private eye people getting divorced. So it kind of seems like maybe millennials are just being smart about this going in. Like we can see things can change.
Right, and that's a big thing too, is that 1/3 of millennials came from divorced parents, and so they had to watch their parents go through that, and that's very traumatic for a child. I don't.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not. There
Fine.
we go.
I'm totally fine.
You know, but you watch what happens with your own parents, and you just decide that you're not going to repeat the same patterns.
Yeah.
And so, yes, marriage is a loving act, but I mean, first and foremost, it's a legal act and can put a lot of stress if the marriage, God forbid, you know, fails down the line. It can avoid a lot of stresses if you just go in with a clear head and just kind of say what is separate right from the get-go, then you don't have to go through as much of a trauma.
Yeah, it sounds very stressful and traumatic to me, marriage as a whole. I was thought that we were, you know, I was surprised to learn about this prenup trend. I thought we were just gonna, you know, get rid of it.
Just get rid of marriage?
Yeah, I thought we were done with it. I thought it was canceled.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of millennials aren't getting married for that specific reason, because you don't have to even go through it at all. You can just basically live with someone. I mean, that's a growing trend too.
You can just basically live with them and love them without the government.
It's true.
How,
That's not a bad way to go.
I've been doing it for years. How can prenups protect you from your partner's debt?
See, this is something that was really, really surprising to me. I didn't have student debt. I just worked all the way through college, so I never even thought about that.
brag.
But all of my friends, though, I mean, the average millennial has $30,000 just in student debt.
Yeah.
I also read a really, really terrible and awful, sad statistic that said the average net worth of a 30-year-old is negative $2,000.
Damn,
So,
Gina.
yeah, but if you don't protect yourself and you get divorced later down the line, you could be liable for your husband's
The average net worth of a 30-year-old is negative
$2,000.
That's
Wow.
So does that
bad.
mean that they owe someone $2,000?
Yes.
Yes, they're in debt,
And
whether
that
it
much
be
debt that
Terrible.
their salary is
That
not.
is
Yes.
so bad.
it's really bad. And if you get divorced,
Where did you read that?
on the
internet.
on the internet, Allie.
Internet.com is my favorite place for facts.
Exactly.
That's insane.
It is
Yeah.
insane, but if you don't protect yourself going in, you could be liable for whatever debt your
Damn.
husband or your wife may have. And it's not just student debt either. Your debt in your house, your debt in your cars.
Credit
your debt-
cards,
Yes,
huge.
credit cards is another huge one too. So they're not just protecting, your income, you're protecting yourself from everything else in life.
Yeah,
But I think-
as Susie Orman says, the M in marriage stands for money.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think people need to start having these conversations before they get booed up. I ask about it like on the 5th date. Like, what's your debt situation?
Oh, really?
I'm not getting into
How's that working out?
Yeah, I'm single, but I have no debt, so
Yeah, exactly. Who's the last one laughing?
I also have no debt for the record. Yeah. In case,
like
if
add it
we
on-
joined up, it would be plus.
add it onto the
Plus
pro list.
money, yeah.
The pro list.
My mom always used to say on dates, you'd ask about the 401k.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's another thing too, is like if you get married and you don't protect whatever you earn during that marriage, that 401k could go to your ex-spouse 40 years from now. So,
Ew.
yeah, another thing that you
That
don't
is
think about.
disgusting.
That's
Yeah,
why
we
that's why
should
bring.
We want prenup.
Right.
We want
You want
free.
free-
No, this is just making me want to never
get
fall in love
married.
with anyone.
Right.
I'm like, stay away, you money sucker! That's bad. I paid off my student debt just to not have any, so I don't want anybody else's debt.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah,
Prenup.
thanks. I'm not even gonna do a prenup. I'm just not gonna make eye contact with anyone.
Heather, on that note, thank you so much for joining
Thank you
us.
for having me.
And you can catch In Case You Missed It by HuffPost on HuffPost.com and Yahoo's Roku channel.
Angelina Jolie has once again said that she might run for office in the future. The actress, who is an activist and United Nations High Commission Special Envoy, is not ruling out a career in politics. When asked about a 2020 run, Jolie teased, "Never say never, but right now I'm looking to others for leadership." I mean, this is kind of, I wouldn't put it past Angelina Jolie to run for office someday. She does a lot of humanitarian work. I think she has some interesting skeletons in her closet.
But we know all
Are
of
they?
them.
They're not in the closet.
They're not in the closet, they're kind of out. Yeah, I don't know. I think if she were to run, I think she'd need to brush up on some domestic policy stuff, but I don't know. I could see it
I
happening.
mean, what are you gonna not vote for her because she makes out with her brother? Who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
Wears vials of blood around her neck? So what?
Honestly, it's not the worst thing that's happened. Yeah,
At least she
candidates
supports
run.
the gay community. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. She supports a lot of communities, which is what I love about her. I mean, she has been involved with the UN for decades, and she talks about like the rise in nationalism and how that's dangerous and how she can be patriotic and love her country, but also be somebody who's globally minded. And that's what being a humanitarian really means. And so I think she actually has a really kind of global perspective that she could bring back. I don't think she'll run for president if she runs, but I could see her being a really successful congresswoman and like actually
But do you
bring some
imagine
issues.
like order in the house and like Angelique walks up with like her fellow congresswoman like in a split dress like as a movie star, everyone would just be like, "Hi,
But
Angelina
I think like she really actually takes herself super seriously
her.
in all
I
of this,
mean,
and like I don't
she
think
does.
she'll be like. Also,
No, I
you
think
can
she
wear a
would.
dress in
Of course.
Congress and be amazing. So like
course.
I don't want to knock her for wearing a fucking sexy split dress.
Yeah.
But I think she'll be in Congress if she were in Congress. I know she would take that seriously. And yeah, we see her like she is in the media more for like all of this stuff
for
than her
sure.
films.
She
Like,
has
this is
been
where-
more in the media 100% for all of the work she's done internationally than I think her films or like bad tabloid. Like that's all stuff that's like beyond her. What she puts out there is always really positive.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, I'm all for women running for office. So
why not?
And also, I don't know we need a Maleficent 3, so maybe when the second one comes out, she can focus on that.
Sorry, it's male efficient.
No.
I know you guys know. Everybody's been saying that in the name of that movie wrong. It's male efficient.
Male efficient. Sorry, male efficient.
Thank you. But of all
my
the
God.
celebs, sorry, I just wanted to make sure we were saying
Thanks
it
for the
correctly.
clarity.
Yeah. Of all the celebrities threatening to run for office, she's like the one that I honestly would be like, this wouldn't be bad. So I support her.
That's a good phrase, the threatening.
Yeah,
Though someone who
really-
I do want to run for office is Kerry Washington. I've heard her speak before, and she's exceptional, and I feel like she would also be very good as well.
The thing about Carrie, when she speaks, you can tell that she directly took a page out of the Obama's book.
Oh, totally.
Like the way her cadence and the way she escalates and she pauses, I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
She like really listened to some Michelle Obama speech.
Remember when Melania just read Michelle's speech?
When she was like, when I grew up on the south side of Chicago. What? Wait.
My ancestors built the White House.
Like, what? Like, something wasn't right here. Like,
And we were all just like, this isn't your speech. And she was like, it is
it
my
is.
speech.
Yeah.
And we were all like, no, it's not.
No, the best thing before that, she was just like, I wrote it myself. I wrote it. And then she threw some girl under the bus afterwards. Like, it was,
Oh my
round of applause,
wild?
America. Round of applause.
Wild. Also, what happened to Be Best?
Wild. Be best.
Be best.
Did it get canceled already?
She's, yeah, what is she? Well, fake Melania is running Be Best. Like, real Melania is hiding out of Potomac.
The good thing about these celebrities, though, like Angelina Jolie and, you mentioned Carrie, but like they're too smart to run now because they know we can't handle them now.
Yeah.
This is not the time for them. Listen, I think these women are brilliant, smart, and involved in things, but like, I think we need people who have been in politics.
100%.
And who understand that game and that ground, and maybe years from now we could allow for something like this.
There's an actual like understanding of policy making and how like laws get formed and how they get passed and like stuff that like even really knowledgeable celebrities do not know.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that I think they're gonna wait till like this whole scenario is hopefully fixed.
Yeah.
And then they come in and be like, oh yeah, we'll do the smart celebrity this time.
We all just saw like, I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill, and we were all like, we can do this.
We got it. Healthcare, we can figure this out. Sounds good.
Yeah, really scary.
Well, in other news, a new HuffPost story details what an LGBTQ inclusive sex education would have taught you, and we're all ears. When working towards a more sex-positive education in America, parents are looking for lesson plans with gender identity, fluid sexuality, and more. This is exciting.
This is really exciting.
I also learned some really interesting things from this article. I didn't know there was a no promo homo law, which is like a short, but basically they...
God bless you.
But literally some schools have rules where they will not teach about homosexuality in the terms of like intercourse. And it just, I was shocked that schools are that afraid to talk about it. And that should definitely be fixed.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because anytime there's any kind of like even mention of homosexuality in a TV show or a commercial, like you hear the outrage of parents being like, how dare you promote homosexuality to my child? And it's like, why do you think it's promotion? Like, I don't think we're promoting heterosexuality, even though we pretty much are everywhere we go. But it just seems so weird that you think it's like an infection that someone can catch.
Yeah.
I'm like, if someone sees a family where like there's like two dads and they decide maybe I'm gay, honestly, like that they weren't infected. They're just seeing themselves represented.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, this article, the way they talked about heterosexual, like, vaginal intercourse sex, they were like, this basic form of sex. And it threw such shade, I was laughing. But I mean, we put in society, like, all of these subconscious qualifiers around what is and what is not real sex. And like ridding that from our understanding of sex and gender, like that would be such a fucking relief for kids who grow up wanting to or are curious about their sexuality and exploration. And I think it's so important for it to be incorporated into sex education.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts in the story was one of the sex educators talked about sex, and they were like, it's like basically like a Cheesecake Factory menu. And I was like, I'm wet right now. Like, this is great. Like, literally, like, that is such a good analogy, because I'm like, you know what, it's one of those things where you don't even have to do it. You can just like read about it and be like, oh, I would love to do that.
And there's pictures.
Yeah.
It's
like,
diverse.
so
There's a long list of things you can do. Yeah, absolutely. I just feel like, I went to a really progressive school, and sex ed was a lot of showing of like really nasty looking private parts about STDs and stuff. And we had national coming out, all this stuff, but I never really understood like the different forms of sex and sexuality as on a spectrum. And I feel like now growing up and learning about what, just my regular life, what sex can be is so, and I'm 25, it's such a newsflash that I'm still learning things that I wish as a high schooler I learned like, oh, like about like literally like oral sex to anal sex to like all this different stuff that I felt like would have just been helpful for me and my fellow classmates growing up. So it wasn't just such a surprise of learning like, what it all means. Like, I'm learning, like, you know, like hookups is not successfully having sex all the time. You know, a successful hookup can just be, you know, doing something else in the Cheesecake Factory menu.
Right.
And I feel like I learned that as a kid. It's, the hookup's not just like sex, like normal heterosexual, you know, it just would have opened up my perspective so much more of the world and what life can be.
Another thing too is like the basic biology of our bodies. And if you remember back in sex ed, they separate the boys from girls. And so only girls learn about their periods and then boys learn about whatever the hell happens to them. I don't know because I never learned it. I think it would be great if we learned what happened with each other's bodies. One, for general knowledge. Two, if there's a kid on the spectrum who's trying to figure out their gender identity, they don't have to be put in a box right there. They get to learn both and sort of figure out where they fit in. I mean, I think it benefits everybody just to know the basic biology of our body.
But also, men should know about women's. I mean, that's important to know.
Men are trying to decide women's health anyway, and they have no idea what's going on.
You're gonna tell me?
I mean, they are. I mean,
God, isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. The people trying to like decide that women can't choose the right to choose.
They don't even know what happened.
They don't even know what happened.
Guys,
you don't even know.
No,
you never watched the movie.
They totally understand that we can control our periods when we want because we're so powerful, and we can also shut down pregnancies that we don't want. Did you know we could do that?
Not
amazing.
Yeah, some of them even said when it's not consensual, you won't get pregnant.
Yeah. Oh, I wish.
I'm not, this is true. These are elected officials.
Just for children.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is why it's important. It starts in schools.
Yeah, and there are also so many health implications to this. People need to know about LGBTQ inclusive sex so that they can make healthy, safe decisions for their life.
Because when you attach shame to it at the beginning, then kids are going to make just choices, you know, maybe shying away from what they should be doing.
They're not going to use protection. They're going to go meet someone who's probably not a good individual. They're going to not have value in themselves. Absolutely. I think it all comes down to just this is a big part of what we need to learn as a society.
One thing that is really hopeful is that, like, with the younger siblings, like my sister, who's like 6 or 7 years younger than me, just seeing how her and her peers are already so much more accepting and open-minded than like my peers were.
Totally.
And like that's just really inspiring. Thinking about like the kids who will one day be teachers and like they're setting up the curriculum, like. Seems like a big waiting game, though.
I have seen change, but I think it comes more. It's not really. I don't know if it's happening from like what kids are learning in school, more from just like as a society we are changing. Like gay marriage is legalized. People are just running for president. Like there are other things that are happening that people are just like we're just getting generally more accepting, which is great. But I think schools there needs to be an investment in teaching children from a younger age of like just. Sex ed and inclusivity.
But I like honestly don't trust our schools, so parents just do better. Honestly, because our schools are so tied up in religion and this puritanical society that we have. You know, we really can't leave it to our schools to do it. I think people need to be just more open with their children and their nieces and nephews and just like having these conversations.
100%. My school was not religious, but it did not have a sex ed program at all. So like it was never brought up. We didn't talk about it. We didn't cover anything. I remember in like 8th or 9th grade, one of my friends was like, "What's testicles?" And like there was an outrage. Like she truly didn't know what testicles were. She like someone pranked her and told her to ask that question. But like I was the closest thing to a sex ed program at our school because I'd be like, you know what? I'd be like, it's okay if your labia is like different sizes. Like I was always the one spreading information and I'd get in so much trouble for talking about periods in school and all this stuff. So it's like, I'm grateful that my parents were very, very open and chill and would like, you know, not be scared of nudity or talking about like the gross stuff.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, who knows what would have happened.
But also like my early like sex ed stuff like with my friends, my 2 buddies, like showing me like porn for the first time. Like telling like it's like that becomes a teenage boy when you're like 13 or 14 when you look at porn like, oh, this is what sex is, and that's ridiculous. And it just. I don't know. There's so much stuff we could do. And also, if men learn more about what happens to women, I think there'd be more respect of just in that scenario as well. That
100%.
Oh, yeah. I have met, like, adult men who think that women pee from their vaginas. And I'm like, I just start crying. I just start crying and walking into oncoming traffic and be like, what's wrong with our
bird box.
society?
You bird box.
Yeah.
Like it's not worth it.
I can't have sex with you, you weirdo. You don't know anything.
In my head, I'm like, we don't.
You're like, hand Allie a hand mirror. Figure it out.
Well, guys, dictionary.com is once again keeping up with the changing times. The online dictionary recently added more than 300 new words, highlighting the influences of the internet and increased attention to social justice issues on the English language. Some of the new additions include JOMO, or the joy of missing out, bromosexual, and white lash.
Can we start with Jomo?
Yeah.
It is my favorite word.
I thought I invented that.
You thought you invented it?
You probably did.
You might have.
You might
I
have.
think I did.
Yeah, I feel like people don't get credit for the words they invent, so I'm gonna give it to you.
Can you give a timestamp?
Well, you'll see, because I did something about Jomo that will be released shortly.
Okay.
Oh,
Ooh.
watch out.
Wow, I just
Who are you,
noticed your
Beyonce?
dog
Gonna drop
earrings.
something?
They're so funny. They're so
You
cute.
see Shannon's earrings?
Are they astronauts?
Oh, yeah, they're like little astronaut ladies.
Oh my
They're, like,
God, I love
chilling.
them. They're from the NASA spacewalk.
Yeah, they
Very
were like, we
relevant.
don't need a spacesuit. We'll go out in our crop pants. Yeah. Women belong in space! Women belong in space! Sorry.
This is an intervention!
Oh man, don't you wish you could throw your mug on this show?
Yeah.
Every day I just want to be like, ah, cha! I wish we could smash glass just a little bit
Can you
more.
just do it once? No, don't.
I know, just
Don't.
once. I know. But right before a break, when we were like gonna switch up the set, I'd love us to just smash something.
I want to flip this table.
I love how
Yeah.
feminist this episode has been.
This episode has been, this is the greatest episode we've
I
ever
think
made.
so.
Yeah.
History of Bill Brunch.
I'm with her to the max, and I love it so much.
A lot of people probably have FOMO watching us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fuck yeah, they do.
Wow.
I thought rubbing the couch would really show that up. I don't know why.
There are a lot of new words that I don't know, like cry bully. Never heard that one
Cry-
before.
I love
What's
that
a
one.
cry bully?
You explain it. I
So
think you have a better
somebody who
definition. Yeah.
basically ignites a crowd on social media over like a cause or something and then acts like a victim about it.
Oh.
You know, basically.
Oh, I invented a word last night.
What is
Okay.
it?
It's there's a lot of people who want to get grim jobs, which is when they get off from like disturbing people with really sad stories.
Oh, my God.
I
That's
love
good.
That.
Yeah.
Like a
That is
Debbie
really good.
Downer.
It's like a Debbie Downer, but instead they kind of like watch you get disturbed, and that like gets them off.
Yeah.
So like I know a bunch of people that like a good grim job.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Dictionary.com,
Sign me
hope you're
up.
watching.
Yeah, so
Hope you're
yeah.
Yeah,
My
add it to
girlfriend
the
and I came
Cheese
up with that last
Factory
night.
menu.
Yeah.
too.
Ooh.
It's good.
Ooh.
Side of grim. You want to start with the grim job? or-
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so what other words are we looking at?
There's like serious, like colorism, white fragility, white lash. I love.
I
white
love all the racially,
Yes.
but so to get serious
Yeah.
for a minute, I do love that because I think for so long we couldn't really have conversations about race that were productive or people
Yeah.
didn't know quite how to explain things. And now we have all this vocab that is so robust and I can like talk to people and be like, well, that's your privilege or that's colorism. And like
Yeah.
there's words now that people can like go do research on their own.
Absolutely.
So I don't
Yeah.
have to just
So if you're
like,
white, you can look up what
explain everything
colorism
all the
is and be
time.
like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah,
That's the,
but it is a really beautiful thing in the evolution of language that we can now talk about race in I think, a more productive way.
Yeah, I was actually so excited because I watched the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion last night, and they were talking about colorism, and I was like, this is so cool.
So
Right.
important.
Because it's like a reality TV show where you think it's like very like kind of like, you know, fluff sometimes, but they were really going for it, and I was like, this is my kind of content.
Yeah, the Atlanta women kind of always have had a more like based off the other wives because they are women of color. Like they have had to like be more progressive in their language and representation because they were honestly like when Bravo put on that show. Besides they were all black except Kim Zolciak. That was one of the first like
Oh,
full
yeah.
almost black cast on like a major cable network. That was a big deal. So I think absolutely like and you know the white lash thing that was Van Jones after the 2016 election saying what Trump's election was a white lash and no one really knew what that meant. He explained it. So that's actually really relevant to the times of like what has happened. Like to have a word defined is pretty cool.
Yeah, it feels empowering to me for sure.
Yeah.
What other words were there?
But I often think about you know that movie Aquila and the Bee.
Yeah.
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 When she goes dis, and you're like, that's not a word. Yes, it is. Look it up in the dictionary. That's what I'm thinking about right
Oh
now.
yeah, I
Remember?
get so frustrated by people who are like, that's not a word. It's like literally language could be whatever we want. And I hate when people get like overly precious about what we should add to the dictionary. I'm like, this is not like the Bible, okay? We're supposed to add definitions of things that are coming out. And if like, okay, if you want to be the flop who doesn't know anything and what we're talking about, then don't add anything to the dictionary.
Yeah. But wouldn't you love if people just added stuff to the Bible?
yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly,
actually,
it would
we
help
should.
a lot.
We really should
Oh my
change
God,
that.
yeah.
Like Jesus saw them fucking and he was fine with it and
Yeah.
he didn't care and he didn't stone anyone. Like we need to add a chapter.
Yeah, because everyone
Yeah.
speaks to him anyway, so we go you add like Jesus didn't care about this.
Jesus
Like,
Oh my God.
Jesus loved bromosexual.
yeah, he loved
That'd be great.
homosexuals. He loved
loved
it.
them.
Wait, should we update the Bible? Like, we should have like a Wikipedia version of the Bible that we all just fuck with every day. I feel like the Christians are like, how dare she? They're coming for me and they'll throw a mug at me. Oh no.
Yeah, I think that would be great if we just wrote like an epilogue that we all approved.
Right.
No one would approve it, but we would.
Yeah,
approve
We
it.
would approve it.
I do think the turning point though with the new words was bootylicious. I
Yes.
remember when that was added, that was the first time I ever heard about the dictionary adding things, and it was like such a part of the zeitgeist. And from then, it's just been like a free-for-all. I'm the only one that...
No, I remember that, and they were like, can you believe we're adding this new word? It's let me see what it is. Diane, do you remember? It's bootylicious. What's the definition? He was like freaking out. I just remember newscasters being like, treating it so scientific, like so crusty.
Bootylicious. But also gave Beyonce some of the greatest openers, where she'd be like, this next song, look it up in the dictionary, and I would like start playing, you're like, yeah!
I thought you said gay Beyonce.
Oh, what?
I thought you were like, and you said that gave Beyonce, but I thought you were like, and then gay Beyonce, and I was like, who is this gay Beyonce you speak of?
Oh
That's our next, we had a fashion show last week with Erica Jane. Our next pageant will be who is the next gay Beyonce.
Wow, what a title.
Pageant.
What a title.
But bromosexual, I don't know, it was defined as when two men, not sexual, but when one is straight, one is gay. I did not know that was a clarifier for a friendship between just two men.
That's actually a good word. That's a good, we needed that word.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, or just be friends. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
We don't need that
I don't think we need that word at all. And I think straight men, just like, straight men, stop being ashamed to flirt with each other.
Right.
Straight men are constantly flirting with each other all day long. They're just like, hey, and it's like, you guys are flirting with each other. It's cool. We all know you're flirting with each other. We're all watching it. It doesn't make you gay. Just flirt with each other. Greg and Brian, you guys can flirt with each other.
Right.
You guys want to see each other's dicks. It's fine.
100%. I know that in high school, all the guys, the broy guys, were the most flirty guys, holding hands and everything. And my friends who touch me the most are my straight friends who just like flirting, saying like, they're like, you're so muscly. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You want to see my shirt off. I understand. Like, calm down. It's so cool. But
I'm with you though.
yeah.
I really am, because the flirting, I mean, I flirt with everybody. You see friends, like you sort
Just everyone liberate your sexuality. Just don't be ashamed. Just love.
I just gave her a look and she reacted. She was like, I flirt with everybody, and I was like, you know, you just gotta be careful.
Guys,
some people have sensitive hearts. They really fall for people.
I mean, you guys are the you're the Pam and Jim of Bill Brunch, and we're waiting for it to happen.
I know, and it's like 8 seasons in, and I'm like,
Brittany's just up here on the couch being like, I'm single. I don't know why. I'm looking for someone. And Shannon's like, take me, mama.
literally, she was like, they can't have debt, and I'm like, I told you I don't have debt.
Brittany comes in like, oh, I met a really cool girl. I'm gonna go out with her. And Shannon would just be like,
that would be really hard.
Like Broad City.
Yeah, like Broad City kind of.
oh, I'm dying to. I'm sorry.
Guys, this has been so much fun.
It is always fun.
So much fun.
I'll be away for a bit, but you'll see me soon.
Yeah.
You guys, that's all from us. We'll see you all tomorrow, same time, same table. Woo!